Rain pounded against the glass windows of the high-rise office, a relentless drumming that seemed to echo the turmoil inside Emily's chest. She sat frozen at her desk, her fingers hovering over the keyboard, staring at the spreadsheet that refused to balance, each number glaring back at her like a judge's sneer. The fluorescent lights above flickered, casting uneven shadows across the room, and the distant hum of the air conditioning did nothing to calm the storm in her mind. Outside, the city seemed oblivious to her panic, headlights slicing through the night fog, life going on while her career teetered on the edge. A soft cough from the doorway jolted her. She looked up to see Mr. Caldwell, the company's CEO, leaning against the frame of the glass wall that separated the executive suite from her cubicle. His tailored suit did nothing to soften the sharpness of his gaze, and she could feel the weight of disappointment radiating from him like a physical force. Her chest tightened. He was the reason she had taken this job in the first place, the reason she had poured herself into every task with unwavering dedication. And now, it seemed, she had failed in the most public, humiliating way possible. "Emily," he said, his voice calm but icy, "we need to talk about these reports. There's no room for mistakes at this level. Do you understand what's at stake?" She swallowed hard, the lump in her throat making it almost impossible to speak. Her mind raced, not with excuses, but with fear. Have you ever felt that raw, searing panic when you realize the world is about to shift beneath your feet? Every heartbeat thumped like a drum of impending doom. "Why yes, Mr. Caldwell," she managed, her voice barely a whisper, cracking at the edges. He sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Emily, we can't keep covering for errors like this. The board is watching, the clients are demanding precision, and frankly, I'm at my limit. If this isn't resolved immediately, I'm afraid we may need to reconsider your position here." The words hit her like ice water, freezing every thought, every motion. Fired. She had worked late nights, sacrificed weekends, sacrificed family dinners, all for this job. And now, in a single moment, it could be over. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them back, forcing herself to focus. The office was quiet, almost oppressively so. Even the usual clatter of keyboards and hum of printers seemed to have fled the building, leaving her alone with the terrifying knowledge that failure was no longer an abstract concept, it was here, tangible and suffocating. She could hear her own shallow breaths, taste the metallic tang of fear, and feel her hands trembling against the edge of the desk. And then, amidst the panic, a single thought pierced through the chaos: what if I can actually fix this? Emily had spent months learning the ins and outs of the company's systems, often overlooked because she wasn't flashy or loud. Her colleagues dismissed her as quiet, unremarkable, someone who kept her head down and did her work. But now, in this moment, the quiet, meticulous habits she had honed became her only lifeline. She leaned closer to the spreadsheet, eyes narrowing, scanning every entry with the precision of someone who had spent years understanding patterns, nuances, and overlooked details. Minutes passed like hours. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the windows, masking the rapid clicking of keys as she adjusted formulas, traced errors back through multiple layers of data, and cross-checked every variable. The office felt like it was shrinking around her, walls pressing in as the weight of impending judgment bore down. Have you ever been so focused that the rest of the world disappears? So consumed by a single purpose that nothing else exists but the problem in front of you? Emily's fingers flew over the keyboard, correcting discrepancies, reconciling numbers, and slowly, painstakingly, entangling the mess that had threatened to end her career. Sweat beaded along her forehead, her chest heaving with each breath, and yet she refused to stop. The thought of failure, of leaving this office, of telling her mother, of facing the shame, was more terrifying than exhaustion. And then she found it. A single misplaced entry, buried under layers of data no one else had noticed, a flaw that had caused the cascade of errors. She adjusted it, recalculated everything, and watched as the numbers aligned perfectly, the spreadsheet finally reflecting what it was meant to show. A wave of relief washed over her, but it was tempered by the knowledge that this was only half the battle. Now she had to present it, to prove to Mr. Caldwell, and everyone else, that she could solve a problem no one else could. She stood, her legs trembling, and walked toward the executive suite, the familiar click of her heels against the polished floor echoing ominously in the empty hallway. Each step felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm of judgment and potential humiliation. She could hear the soft murmur of voices from the conference room where the board would review the corrected reports, the low hum of the air conditioning amplifying the pounding of her heart. When she entered, all eyes turned toward her. The board members, normally calm and composed, stared at her with expressions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. Mr. Caldwell's gaze met hers, a flicker of something, doubt, maybe, or anticipation, crossing his features. Emily felt the heat of scrutiny like a physical weight, pressing down on her shoulders. Can you imagine standing there, every eye in the room trained on you, knowing that one mistake could define your career? She took a deep breath, forcing herself to steady her shaking hands, and began to walk them through the corrected data. Her voice, though slightly quivering at first, grew stronger with each explanation, each careful justification, each logical step that revealed not just the error, but the solution no one else had seen. She could see the surprise on their faces, the subtle shift from doubt to recognition, and for the first time in hours, a small spark of hope ignited within her chest. By the time she finished, the room was silent. The corrected reports sat in front of them like evidence of her diligence, intelligence, and perseverance. Mr. Caldwell leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable, but the tight line of his mouth softened ever so slightly. Emily's heart raced as she waited, every second stretching unbearably. Then, finally, he spoke. Emily, this is impressive. Not just the solution, but the fact that you found it when no one else could. That kind of insight and dedication is rare. The tension in her shoulders eased slightly, but she didn't dare relax completely. She had solved the problem, yes, but would it be enough? Would it erase the fear, the humiliation, the threat of being fired? One of the board members, a sharp-eyed woman with a reputation for ruthlessness, nodded slowly. It seems we underestimated you. This is exactly what was needed. Emily's throat tightened again, but this time it was not from fear. It was from the overwhelming mix of relief, validation, and the lingering emotional residue of nearly losing everything. She had been at the edge of despair, standing on the precipice of a nightmare, and yet she had found a way to climb back. Have you ever faced a moment where failure felt inevitable, yet somehow, you discovered a strength within yourself you didn't know existed? As she stepped back, allowing the board to review the corrected data, Emily realized something profound. It wasn't just about saving her job. It was about proving, first to herself and then to everyone else, that perseverance, attention to detail, and courage under pressure could overcome even the most impossible challenges. Outside the conference room, the rain had begun to taper off, leaving the streets glistening under the city lights. Emily knew this night would stay with her forever, a memory of fear, resilience, and triumph all intertwined. And though the road ahead was still uncertain, one truth had crystallized clearly: she was stronger than she had ever imagined. The board members whispered among themselves as Emily watched from the corner, her hands still trembling slightly from the adrenaline. She felt the weight of every pair of eyes in the room, every subtle nod, every furrowed brow, as if their silent judgments could either lift her up or shatter her completely. Mr. Caldwell, standing behind the table, cleared his throat, and the room fell silent once again. Emily, he began, his tone measured but softer than before, what you've done tonight isn't just about fixing a spreadsheet. It's about taking initiative when everyone else hesitated. You saw a problem, you understood it, and you acted when it mattered most. Her chest swelled with a mixture of relief and disbelief. Could it really be that her nightmare was turning into triumph? She had walked into the office hours ago under the shadow of impending failure, and now the room seemed to shift beneath her feet, not with fear, but with possibility. Then came the unexpected. Mr. Caldwell reached into his suit pocket and retrieved a small tablet, tapping a few keys. A projection appeared on the screen behind him, a complex client presentation, riddled with errors and inconsistencies that no one had caught. The same pattern Emily had uncovered in the spreadsheet, magnified across the company's most important deal of the quarter. Normally, this would have been catastrophic, he said, his eyes meeting hers with something akin